Hey everyone, it's Matt from Pixelade Rail here, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So today we're going to be talking about the upcoming MBTA Boston to Worcester route. Now keep in mind, this is not going to be launching with Train Sim World 5 on release come September 17th, or possibly earlier if you get the deluxe or special editions with the early access. This is a route that is slated for Q4 this year, so we are expecting it sometime later on this year, but it is going to be a Train Sim World 5 route nonetheless. So we have some new details, some new information, and dev Q&A over on the forums that we're going to cover today, as well as a new screenshot from inside the cab on one of the brand new locos coming with the route. That loco is the HSP 46. So we've seen the outside of this loco, and we've even seen the double-decker coaches which are coming with this. I will have those playing on your screen right now, but we also have another image from inside the cab. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. So this was confirmed on the roadmap stream. I don't know how far into that you guys watched, if of course you did watch that at all, but Matt, executive producer over on the forums, does confirm that the route will also come with the F40 and the single deck coaches and do mix and match. The same way the F125 and the MP36 are going to mix and match over on the San Bernardino route. So that is always good news to hear. I was honestly hoping for this. In my opinion, I believe that that is the bare minimum. You know, considering what we see with UK routes and some of the German routes, there's a lot that's layered in on the timetables. It only makes sense and it's only right that the same applies for the US. But things aren't as promising when looking at it the other way around. So as far as Boston Sprinter, it's not planned at the moment that the HSP 46 is going to sub onto Boston Sprinter for the MBTA services on that route, which definitely is disappointing. Now, Matt did explain in the stream and right here on the forums that it's not planned at the moment, but it's something that he'd want to do at some point, but again, no plan. So honestly, just based on that response, I take it as no, it's not happening. I do really hope that it comes at some point though. Now, Matt does follow up and write that the easiest way would be to dupe the timetable and have a version that requires both packs to work, I guess, but not something I've thought about. The other option is just to backport the new locos into the older packs, so both packs have both trains. There are a few viable options, so there are options and there is a possibility, but again, I wouldn't get your hopes up for that. I would really like to see this new loco and these new coaches available for the Boston Sprinter route, and if so, honestly, that might encourage some more sales for those that haven't already purchased Boston Sprinter, so there is something that Dovetail can get out of this. Now, for those of you wondering, will there be freight on this new route? We do have an answer to that question coming a little later in this video, but Matt actually talks a little more about MBTA and how well they were to work with. He writes, I want to give a big shout out to MBTA, who supported an absolutely brilliant reference trip, putting on 2 non-revenue trains for us to get audio and route reference. Absolutely brilliant, and another to add to the, in quotes, amazing US railroad operators list. This is why we're doing passenger stuff really. Freight operators just won't share their toys. This is honestly really upsetting, not really on Dovetail's part, but the fact that it's just so hard for them to get reference material from freight operators. I do believe it's a likely part of the reason why we're still stuck with such outdated freight loco and freight stock sounds and all of that. I mean, they could always get sounds and such from the community, but I'm pretty sure at one point they explained why that's just not as easy to do. For those of you worried if freight will be on the route at all, you can rest assured I have a very positive answer coming for you, but that does come with a few drawbacks, one of which being it doesn't really sound like we're getting anything new with freight. Obviously, if we were getting any new freight stock, they would have announced it as well. A little disappointing, but again, nothing new. And in case you didn't know, Brandon, also known as Cactus Juice over on the forums, did do signal scripting for this route. If you're not familiar with his work, previously on Boston Sprinter, as well as Long Island Railroad Commuter. He is incredible at what he does. The signaling is always so complex and it's always done right. So honestly, just knowing that he is doing the signaling for this route, I automatically just have more confidence in the route as a whole. He writes, I scripted the signals for this route, Framingham to Boston, Rule 261, so train movements are governed by wayside signal indications. Framingham to Worcester is Rule 562, so movements are governed by cab signals only, except at control points. Locomotive cab signal systems are in use for the entire route. So, that comes back to freight. We don't really have up-to-date functioning in-cab signaling with a lot of our loco stock for US content currently, so I feel like that could make things challenging for freight layers. I'm not sure if they're AI, but we are getting freight. I hope they're playable, but I know that with New York to Trenton, besides performance concerns, another reason why they ended up gutting it from the timetable was because there were no in-cab signals, or at least ones that didn't properly work with the route. So this is a screenshot that was taken from the latest road map stream for the inside of the brand new loco. Honestly, looks great. They did an amazing job with the inside of the F125 for the Antelope Valley line, and honestly, in my opinion, the sounds are some of the best sounds that we've had for US locos, at least in a while, and I don't doubt, considering they actually got a reference trip and were able to record their own sounds, that they're going to be bad by any means. I'm very excited for this logo. So Joe over on the forums, which is actually working on the timetable for this route, has weighed in. One member asked, can we at least assume that the tracks between South and Back Bay will be populated with Acela and other MBTA commuter trains? And Joe writes, you can indeed, as well as Amtrak's Northeast Regional Services. That is already completed, and I'm going to spend a long time on the freight services for this timetable, so we will have freight layers for this route confirmed. Whew, huge sigh of relief. I was worried about this. I guess the question now is, are any of them going to be playable? I really hope so. Obviously, the whole issue about safety systems and signaling inside of the cab doesn't really matter if they're AI services. That issue comes into play if they're, of course, playable. Like I mentioned, it was sounding like one of the reasons that freight was gutted from New York to Trenton overall was due to performance issues, but due to the lack of safety systems in those locos, even if we would have gotten them despite the performance issues, they likely just wouldn't have been playable. So to go a little further with freight on the upcoming MBTA route, Joe confirms, yes, there is freight, but writes, I must clarify it's not included with the route, so I'll be using stock from other routes like Sand Patch Grade. So our layers will be from that. If you own Sand Patch Grade, you're going to see those layers. I'm just hoping that they are playable. This personally doesn't come as a shock to me. If they were included with the route, it definitely would have been noted in the official announcement during Dovetail Direct, and definitely also talked about on the latest roadmap stream. Honestly, I just think that this is the best we're going to get, at least for now, because Matt writes, it's hard for them to get inside of these freight trains, get new sounds, get new data, get new info, all the reference material that they need. So, considering that, this really is the best they can do, and it is disappointing, but I'm just happy again, at least freight is being considered for this. And even if it isn't playable when you're driving the MBTA services, you're gonna see more traffic along the route and more variety, and to me, in my opinion, that's what makes the route come alive. Now, MBTA does run 2 MP36s, and considering that's one of the new locos that we're getting with the San Bernardino line, it would be nice to see those layered in, but I wouldn't expect that. I can already tell though that there will likely be liveries created for this if there haven't been already, since we do have another version of the MP36 already in Train Sim World. I love that Dovetail and MBTA have such a good relationship with each other. I mean, we have Boston Sprinter, we now have 2 separate separate locomotives for that commuter line. It just kind of pisses me off that SEPTA and MARC won't really give them the time of day, because could you imagine what we'd receive having SEPTA license in Train Sim World? We would likely get the rest of the Northeast Corridor from Philly to Trenton, and as far as MARC, they could go from DC to Baltimore, or from Baltimore to Wilmington, or I doubt this, Baltimore to Philadelphia, and we'd have the MARC stations. We'd have Amtrak because we already have the ACS 64. We already have the Acela. Those are just easy routes that they could make if only we could get MARC to comply. You know, they have their reasoning for not wanting to be a part of the game. It is what it is, but it's still just disappointing, you know? But as far as this route, Boston to Worcester, I think the freight layers are going to add a lot. There are sections where there's a decent amount of freight traffic, so I am really excited for that. I want you guys to share below what you think on this route, and of course the news that there is going to be freight, but of course coming from Sam Patchgrade, and what your thoughts are on the new logo that's coming to the game, as well as the new image from inside the cab. That's gonna be it for me. I have a surprise for you guys when I hit 2,000 subscribers, so if you aren't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, found it entertaining or informative, and ring the bell for notifications, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching, take care, and happy rail simming. Bye everyone.